Hello, everyone. Long time no see. So, if you've been following this YouTube journey, you know that a few weeks ago I had started doing a daily vlog recording my small art business and kind of behind the scenes of what I do for my day-to-day tasks. I did that for 2 weeks and I then got completely burnt out. So it wasn't a viable structure for my business. Even though I enjoyed doing the videos, they were more time consuming than I expected, even for like super low editing, very casual, very short updates. It was just taking too much time every day. So I decided instead that I will be doing a weekly vlog and just giving half of my Fridays over to recording and editing and posting. If you don't do this type of thing, then you might not realize how much time and effort goes into it. Some of these YouTubers that you see that have highly polished videos that have a lot of effects and a lot of cuts to different scenes and stuff, I can't imagine how many hours they put into each video. It's crazy, but running a small art business as well as doing the YouTube videos, it's just not going to work for me. So it has been a couple weeks since I've done a video. I know I just said that I was going to do a weekly vlog, but last week I had a semi-emergency come up. I had to go to Canada to have a celebration of life there for my uncle, and it was a very positive visit. Despite that, I wanted to take advantage of flying up there and spend some extra time with my nieces and nephews and my sisters because I miss them a lot. Being in a different country is very difficult. So other than my Canada trip, what have I done in the last 2 weeks? I've done quite a bit. I fulfilled my Patreon rewards, so that means I completely finished my piece for January. I had to think of that for a second. I was like, what month is it? And I'll show you those here now. And for this month, I did the Dracula piece, which I've been updating you guys on throughout the month while I was working on it. Here's the final. For my Patreon, most people on my Patreon decide to do the loot bag tier, which gets you a physical loot bag in the mail every month with little pieces of art. It always includes one mini print and then one small item to go with that mini print, whether it be a sticker or a magnet. Sometimes we do little coasters, stuff like that. And I was originally doing multiple pieces every month, and the sticker would be different from the main release, but I had been just unable to keep up with that kind of schedule. I wanted to put way more time into one big elaborate piece instead of kind of spreading my time really thin between multiple pieces and then just having to cut the large piece short and not give it all the time and attention that it needed because I had these other small ones that I needed to do for the stickers and magnets. So a few months ago, I had completely switched over to doing just one piece, and that one piece would be featured on both the small item as well as the mini print, which has ended up working out really well for me. I feel like I've been able to take on harder projects and really push myself with what that main release actually is. I am so thankful to all of my patrons. So for those of you that are watching that are patrons, thank you so much. You are the reason I'm able to continue painting in the winter time, and it's very hard at this time of year because I have no shows and really not a lot of income coming in because of the lack of shows. So the small amount of sales I get on my website and then my Patreon are my only avenues to make the monies. So it's such a big deal for those of you that are on my Patreon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Other than that, this week I was very excited that I finally finished all of the formatting for my tarot card deck. I was supposed to be finished it 6 months ago, and I finally finished it. All the cards have been submitted, and all of the tuck case design has been finished, and I would like to make a little announcement right now, which is for those of you who have been watching the journey, you know that I've always wanted to have a lot of shinies on the deck. So I was going to do a foil on the outside edges of the card, and I was going to have foil on the back and then on the front as well in the border and the lettering of each card. That foil was going to be gold because I wanted it to be really classy and luxurious, and it just kind of matched the deck really well. But they had a hollow option, and I love holographic foil. The rainbows just make me super happy, but I really wanted the gold as well. So after careful consideration, I've decided that I will be doing 2 versions of the tarot deck, hopefully, if the Kickstarter gets funded. Knock on wood. But the first version will be the version that I was just talking about with the gold foil that will be available for sale after the Kickstarter. It's the one I'll be having at shows and on my website, and I'll be probably selling that version for the rest of my life. The second version is going to be a Kickstarter exclusive deck. So this one's going to have hollow foil on all of the areas that would otherwise be gold on the main deck, but it will only be available on the Kickstarter. So it's not going to have a set number like my limited edition prints do. Instead, it's going to be timed edition, where after the event is over, I'm not making any more after that. So it's the only place to get it. And the reason I'm doing this is, 1, I really want to have a hollow foil deck. And then 2, it'll hopefully drive pledges on the Kickstarter so that we will get funded, because if we don't get funded, it doesn't get made, and I'm 9 years into this project, so I really want to see it get made. This is the gamble that I made as a creator. A lot of people will do their Kickstarter before their project is finished, or sometimes even before the project has begun. And I've pledged towards certain projects where that was the case, and the creator, for whatever reason, sometimes wasn't able to finish it, or sometimes only partially finished it. And it can happen for a variety of reasons. You know, life happens, but because they did the Kickstarter first, they weren't able to foretell that this was going to happen, and the project gets canceled. And sometimes you don't get reimbursed for that. And I never wanted to put anyone in a position where the rewards are going to take longer than I say, or anything like that's going to happen. And for mine, which was going to be a multi-year project to actually create the art, I just didn't want to have people waiting on that. So I gambled and decided to do all the art first so that there would be no guesswork. Everything's done. Nothing can come up to delay it on my side. The manufacturer side, I can't say anything for, but for my side, all the work is done. But the drawback to that is if it doesn't get funded, then I don't get paid for 9 years of work. At least not completely, because I have been selling prints of the work, and the main releases for my Patreon for many years were the tarot cards. So I have been compensated to a certain extent, but certainly not at a minimum wage. So hopefully the Kickstarter will remedy that. I have that submitted to the manufacturer. So they're on vacation right now. So it might be a couple weeks before I hear back on if they need any revisions. I do anticipate revisions on some scale because it is my first submission of most of the cards and most of the designs, like the tuck case. And sometimes the foil is too detailed, or something's not formatted correctly in terms of like how much space they want for a bleed. So I'll have to go back in and fix that. Hopefully, it won't be anything significant like them saying my border is too detailed and I have to go back into all 78 cards and redo that, because that would suck. But fingers crossed that it goes well. If it does, they will be starting to make the plates and stuff for our first hard copy. I do have to put a bunch of my own money into this before the Kickstarter runs, so that's another gamble. But I want to have the hard copy made before the Kickstarter so that I can actually take physical pictures of the actual deck so people can see exactly what they're getting on the Kickstarter, instead of me just doing digital mock-ups and then sometimes it just doesn't turn out the same way. I want people to be able to see the quality, because I've spent a lot of time making sure that this is going to be a quality deck, and I want to show that off for the Kickstarter. But I will be putting up a pre-launch page soon, and I will put a link on all the social medias and stuff when that is up. And during my next vlog, if it's up by then, I'll also put a link in that vlog description. So if you wanted to check out the pre-launch page, that would be a great place to do it. Other than working on the tarot deck, I've also been starting my piece for February, which is called Winter's Resurgence. This piece is the second piece of this series, the first of which was called Nature's Resurgence, and it focuses on the cycle of life and death. Nature's Resurgence was a standalone piece, kinda, where I didn't intend for it to be a series, so it was a little generic, and I have since decided that I wanted to do more that were around this theme and that had this type of style. It's a very almost graphic style for me, whereas usually I have a background and a character that kind of like exists within a certain space. These are more of a design that's kind of floating in a void. This piece is going to be done in oils, so this is still the super ugly stage, but I'm going to show you just a few of the different stages that I go through with the painting. First off, I drew it out digitally. I like to do that because it allows me to scale things and move them around and use that warp tool and that undo tool whenever I need to. And I just find that I like to noodle around a lot with different elements for these kinds of pieces, so digital makes more sense for me. After that, I print out the digital sketch and I transfer it onto my canvas with transfer paper. And then I do an acrylic underpainting just to get rid of the white and kind of put the tones in. For this piece, I'm doing the grisaille method, and if you're not familiar with that, the grisaille method is essentially painting everything in grayscale and then adding color in later on via transparent washes after that grayscale has dried. They call this grayscale the dead layer, which I think is very appropriate for this piece. And I really love painting this way because it takes away the element of color and lets you focus entirely on rendering and form. I feel like this really speeds up my process as well, because during these first passes, I only have two colors on my palette, black and white, and it just makes this first layer so easy. And then adding color later on, I don't have to worry about value, so that even goes on faster. So I spend probably 75% of my time doing the grayscale render, and then the last 25% of the time is done with the color. So this piece is probably about a third of the way through the grayscale render. I anticipate probably 3 more sessions on the grayscale, and then I must allow it to dry, and then I will come in with the color. The color will probably only take 2 sessions, so I should be able to get this piece done by next Thursday, which is really important to me because Midnight is coming out in World of Warcraft, and I want to take Friday off, so I need to hustle and get this piece finished before then so that I can relax and have a nice personal day playing video games in my pajamas. On the side, I've also been working on my website redesign. I actually had a couple of people reach out to me and say, hey, when is your website going back up? I want to buy something. And I just have not put it back up after I took it down for the Christmas season. I put a big disclaimer on it saying this website will be back up after the Christmas holidays, and I will be completely redesigning it, and that will occur in January, and it is now February, and the website was still down. So I guess I should work on that because I would like to make sales. So basically, when I say I wanted to do a website redesign, it was more I wanted to do product photo redesign where I, instead of putting up a digital version of all of my prints on a white background, I want to instead have a picture of the actual print in an environment. So this means I need to go in and redo every single product photo, and I have like hundreds of listings. The tarot itself is 78 listings. So I have many series outside of that. So you can only imagine how many listings I have on my website, and they all have this white background. And I want my site to be darker. I want it to have almost a gothy type feel because that's my vibe. So I did one picture with the new background, and then I'm slowly going to update the rest. But that means that for a while, my website's going to be kind of ugly because I changed the website background to reflect this new look, but that white background still remains on most of my listings. So whatever, it's fine. We'll work on it when I have time. What else is there? Gosh, this is so much harder than doing it every day. Every day I didn't have a ton to say, and now I feel like 2 weeks, there's just too much to go over. This video is going to be so long. I think that that's it for everything that I accomplished over the last 2.5 weeks or so. As for goals for next week, I would like to finish the Winter's Resurgence, like I mentioned before, and that's pretty much like my only goal. I'm going to need almost all of next week to finish that. So I don't really have anything else on my plate other than a video for YouTube, which might come out on Thursday because, like I said, I wanted to take Friday off, so that might come a little early. And then I also need to digitally repaint Winter's Resurgence because I will take a photo of this, but it never prints out as nicely as it looks in person. There's always weird specular highlights that the camera picks up when I take the picture. So I have to go back in and just clean up those specular highlights and make sure that everything looks the way it's supposed to. So that usually takes a few hours as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That will be to the end of February. I hope that you've all been amazing these past 2 weeks. I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you next Thursday. Bye, guys.